started a home-based service business and you have found that running a business is harder than it looks and more overwhelming than you ever thought it would be. This podcast is the best of the best information that I've learned to help grow and sustain my business. Listen, subscribe, and follow along. We can avoid the overwhelm and start creating a business we love to run. Hi everyone, welcome back to the DAC podcast. My name is Lydia Miller and I am so excited that you're joining us today. This episode is based all around email marketing and how we can do that better and some questions that I had behind it that were pretty basic. And I am so thankful that Kate Boyd with Cobblestone Creative decided to join us today. And I cannot wait for you to listen to that episode and to really the interview and to learn more as I've learned more about email marketing. This has definitely been an area that I've been knowing that I should work on for a while, and I feel like I'm more equipped now to be able to do that because of this interview. So again, thank you, Kate. I am so excited to share that. Now, before we get started, I wanted to let you know of a few things. Number one, if you are new to the podcast, I want to extend a warm welcome and to let you know that the podcast is broken into seasons based on my MBA that I'm earning right now. So this podcast or this season is the marketing season, and it'll last for a couple more weeks. And I have a few more things I want to talk about and people that I want to bring in. And then the next season we're launching into after this is technology. And that was also an area that I really struggled with whenever I first started, just knowing the lingo and knowing like a lot of the basics. I was never really into that. So this class really helped at least help me with the foundation of things. And I'm excited to bring in more guests to talk through technology that I use in my own business and want to use and questions I have. So be sure to hit subscribe for the podcast on iTunes if you're listening there so that you can never miss an episode. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a review on iTunes, that would mean the world to me. I read them all. I appreciate those of you who have taken time to do that. If you learned something about this episode, that is the absolute best way to thank me is by doing that. Number two, I wanted to remind you that I have hours available for QuickBooks Consulting. Now, this is my own service-based business that I run from my house, is QuickBooks Consulting and Bookkeeping. And with the QuickBooks Consulting, what I found is that when I'm talking to business owners, a lot of new business owners do the bookkeeping themselves, which is fine. They want to be able to do that. They want to have a handle on things. And QuickBooks is a fairly simple program to use. Like once you can log in, it's easy to find things. It's user-friendly. It's pretty and all that kind of stuff. It's good. It's easy to use. However, if you don't have a background in accounting, sometimes it's hard to understand what's going on, why things are the way they are, why things aren't showing up on reports the same way. And it's kind of hard to know those things without the accounting background. And so my goal is with these 1 hour or 2 hour sessions is to just answer those questions. I have a background in accounting. I understand how it works. And I really want to be able to help you with those specific questions you have. And it's hard to do that over a podcast. It's hard to do that even on YouTube. I've tried to do it before. So if you have those specific questions, write them down, keep them to the side and book a session with me and we can walk through those questions that you have. I promise there's a solution for those. And I know that once you learn that information, I've seen the light bulb go off and I know that you feel a lot more confident, especially in that area of your business once you have those questions answered. So to book a session, all you have to, I call it a session. I don't know. It's a call, a session. I need to find a better word to call it. But if you want to book a call, I guess it's an hour long, you can go to my website, lydiagmiller.com, and there's going to be buttons on the front page where you can click on and you can choose an hour that works for you. And you can choose one every 3 months. You can choose one, every other week, however many questions you think you have. And I know that whenever tax time comes around, it gets really busy. And if you want to make sure that you're doing things correctly before tax time comes so that you have a little bit of time in October, November, and December before taxes are going to start rolling in January, this is a great time to get all those questions answered. Even if you just want to make sure that you're doing things correctly, this is a great time to do that. So I would absolutely love to help you. Again, you can go to lydiagmiller.com and you can find out all the information there. And I so look forward to helping you with that. Now, today's episode, like I said, is all around email marketing, and it's all about the basic questions that I have. I am so excited to share this information. And so without further ado, here is my interview with Kate from Cobblestone Creative. Hi, Kate, and welcome to the DAC podcast. I'm so happy that you're here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so my first question is, so what led you to want to start a business? And just tell us a little bit about that, about your business.
Well, this is actually my third business.
Oh, wow.
And so I actually just started my first one about 4-ish years ago.
Okay.
Because there was something I was involved with as a hobby, and I wasn't able to be as involved as I wanted to be in it anymore because I had a full-time job. And so I started a blog, and then that eventually turned into a business. And that's kind of how I got into the online business game. It was totally by accident, really. And then my day job was in marketing. So I was doing that, and then, started another online business because I felt like that's what I needed to do. And then ended up leaving my job. I sold my first business, ended up in the second one, and then just realized that actually what I needed to be doing was helping people with their marketing, which seems like such a duh thing because it's what I did in my day job. And I really loved my day job. I'm like the rare person who wasn't trying to get away from it. But also just really wanted to serve in my best area and to be able to give people what they really needed. And for me, that was marketing. So I ended up, jumping into that, totally pivoting out of my other business. And here we are.
So what was that like whenever you realized that you were not in the best fit for you as far as the business goes? What was that transition like, and was it easy to see that and decide to change, or was that really, really difficult to let go of what you'd been working on for a while?
It's always difficult to let go of something that you've been working on. And I think it was, that other business was, I was really emotionally attached to it, but it was sort of, it's one of those things where you're doing something and you're doing it pretty well. Yeah. But the more you get into it and the more you interact with it, you're just kind of realizing that it's not as fun or as effective. And so I always just kind of check in with myself every few months to ask those questions to see what it is that, we're doing or how I'm feeling about everything. And it just sort of became really clear that as I looked back on the things that I was having the most fun doing with my clients, because I was coaching people, that's what I was doing. It was in the marketing strategy and helping them do it. And then I would get kind of frustrated when I didn't get to do the creative part, or when they wouldn't follow through and I was having to hold their hand through those things. And I was like, I would just do this. Let me just do it for you. It would just be easier. It'd be way more fun for me. And so it just kind of, I started to slowly transition. I added a couple of marketing things on and slowly floated them out to some friends. And then those became clients. And then it kind of picked up. And the more I did it, the more I was like, no, this is the thing. And so one day I emailed everyone and let them know, and emailed my clients and let them know that we could finish out with their coaching packages if they wanted, or we could transition them to marketing packages if that worked better. Just a couple of things like that where we were able to really, and I just sort of shut it down and started over, and it was really scary and it was really emotional. But, after a couple of months, that business was doing better than any of my other businesses had ever done. And I was having more fun. And so here we are a year later. And I'm still having fun in it.
That's awesome. I'm sure that transition was really difficult, but I'm sure once you realized, and I love that you checked in with yourself and that you realized this is not working or this is working, and really being able to see that. I think that's really, really important for everyone to do, for sure. So tell me what you're doing right now in your business and what you're focusing on and kind of what you're doing. Give us the details on that.
Sure. So my business is Cobblestone Creative Co., and we're essentially a digital marketing agency. So we help people with their digital marketing, but our main focus is on conversions. So you have an audience and they maybe aren't buying from you, or you want to start scaling your business with more scalable offers like memberships, courses, products, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really come in and help you create the marketing systems, the conversion systems to do that. We primarily do that through email marketing. So we help you put together a really relationship-driven email marketing strategy, which really just means that we look at how you build relationships and we look at how people flow through your business and to you. And then because of all the technology we have available to us today, we actually just kind of systematize that. So we don't do, the copy and paste funnels that everyone else has or anything like that. We really tailor it to your customers' behavior, the messaging that you have that's resonating with people, and the way that you like to build relationships. So it can be as automated or you can be as involved as you'd like, but it's still done in a scalable way so that you don't feel like you are chained to your computer finding clients and customers, and that you're still able to sell the things that you really want to sell and impact more people.
That's awesome. So I guess on that, for email marketing, let's talk a little bit about that. Most about that, I suppose, because whenever I started my business a few years ago, I heard from like a lot of people. I was like, you have to have an email list. You need to be building your lists and doing all these things. And I kind of thought, I don't really need an email list. Like that's kind of outdated. And now I've realized, no, yeah, you need an email list for your business. Like you kind of can't get away from that. So can you, I guess, share some, I guess, just practical reasons why you should be building a list for people that are like me and who kind of thought, I don't really need one?
Well, I think in some ways you're right? At first, especially if you're doing a service-based business, an email list isn't necessarily the most important thing to focus on.
Right.
Relationships, connecting with potential clients, putting yourself out there, those are the things that really matter and getting to those conversion events. But at some point, you're going to want to grow beyond you chasing down leads across the internet, right? And that's where your email list comes in. So whether you're looking to scale with doing more services like my company does with more agency style, or if you're looking to incorporate other products or service or like smaller services or group programs or whatever into what you do, to be able to scale that, you need to be able to scale the rate at which you can build relationships. And email becomes essentially the prime place to do that. And essentially, I've been giving some webinar presentations lately, and they've included some statistics like for email marketing, there's like a 44 time ROI. So for every $1 you spend on email marketing, you'll probably make about $44 if you're doing it well. Wow. And that's huge. That's a ROI that you don't get on any other channel. And 77% of people prefer to get permission-based messages in their inbox versus on social media, direct mail or text message or any of those things, or advertising that they see. So they actually, when it's stacked up against other things, they prefer email too. And so it's really just about making that email experience something that they look forward to having, and so that they continue to open your emails and interact with you, so that grows so that relationship grows. And it's in that way that you're actually able to scale those relationships, and you're able to build them faster and with more people. And there are lots of ways to personalize, but that's really the main reason is, no, you don't need it at the beginning. It's true. You don't. But if you want to grow and you want to serve more people on a bigger scale, email is going to be the linchpin for your business to do that.
Gotcha. And I'm even thinking now about the people that I get emails from, and that even put in their like reply and like, tell me what you think about this. And like, I've done it before and I've kind of thought, well, they probably won't respond back. And then when they do respond, even from there, it's like, I'm a fan for life because you actually like read what I said, and you actually like responded and like said something personal back and everything. So I can definitely see, even from my own experience, that that's really, like just powerful to have that connection with somebody over email more than social media, for sure. And so as far as your email, like getting email addresses, I know that's a big, obviously to have a list, you kind of have to have email addresses. So what are some ways I've seen people do like free ebooks and gifts if people sign up and everything? Is that um, kind of the goal? Is that what everyone should be like working for to create something that they would want? Or is that something that is a waste of time? Or as far as like right out of the gate, trying to um, begin a list from complete scratch, what would
Sure.
you say would be the best way to go about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Well, I think a couple of things. One is because people's inboxes are crowded, they're so
Mhm.
crowded, and we all feel that all the time, right? And so
Mhm.
it's important that you give them something worth signing up for. And
Mm.
that really comes down to something like you were talking about, a lead magnet or opt-in of some kind,
Mhm.
because most people aren't going to sign up to just get your blog posts in their inbox. They could just
Mhm.
go to your website and do that. They don't need to exchange their email in order to do that. And or just to get your personal random like tips, right?
Mhm.
They want something of value, and the best way to do that is to find a problem that they're having
Mhm.
or something that would help them in some way that's related to your business. And that there's like 1,000 different things that could be, and that totally depends on what you're selling.
Mhm.
But by giving them something of value and then letting them know that you're going to be in touch with other valuable stuff
Mhm.
is definitely the way to go to exchange for the exchange of an email address.
Mm. Yeah, I think that it sounds easy, but it also sounds like that's a lot of work to keep up with all that content and for unique content too. Because, like you said, you don't just want to open up an email to see a blog post. You want something different that you haven't seen yet or something more exclusive. So, I guess from that standpoint, for the time, what do you think? How much time should we be spending on email? Should it be something that's like 5 hours a week or like one email a week, or what's kind of the, I don't know, the time frame that should be spent on it for like an
Sure.
effective email?
I mean, I think creating your email should go right along with creating all of your other content. I don't think it should take a whole lot of time out of your schedule. If you're spending more than an hour on an email, then you're probably spending too much time and you need to find a better way to streamline that for yourself. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, how as far as how often to email, that's totally going to vary by audience and
Mhm.
your people. I email 2 to 3 times a week, but my people are used to getting more emails. If your people don't check their email very often, then perhaps that's not a great thing, because then when they
Mhm.
check in, they're going to see that you've got like 3 emails from you this week, and that may feel overwhelming to them.
Mhm.
So I would definitely suggest testing the frequency with your audience. But to me, once a month is an absolute minimum,
Okay.
because you do need to be in there enough to be top of mind,
Mm.
so that whenever they do get to the point of needing something that you offer, you're a person that they immediately think of. And if you're never there, you're never going to be the person that they think of.
Mm.
And that's really the point, right? Is those relationships. So once a month is kind of a minimum. I like people to strive for at least once a week. But again, test it with your audience, see what happens.
Mm.
And I think the most important thing to remember is that it's about consistency.
Yeah.
Relationships aren't built by you showing up for 7 days for every day and then you never ever showing up in their inbox again. That's not
Mhm.
how it works, okay? So, and you can see that with any relationship, right? It's like it takes
Mhm.
time and it takes cultivation and intention. And so
Mhm.
showing up consistently is one of the best ways to build those relationships and trust with your audience.
Absolutely. Should it be on a schedule? Should clients or people on your email list know when they're going to get an email from you, or can it be spontaneous? Or like you said, is it just consistently being in there every single week? That's the
I
key.
would suggest having a schedule so people look forward to when
Mm.
they get your emails. It should be something that they always look forward to.
Okay.
I would say though, if you have something spontaneous to say, that don't be afraid to send an extra email occasionally if that's a thing that it's just you feel really pulled to send that thing. But try to get a schedule and send it. Now, if you're in the middle of like a big promotion period, you will be emailing much more often than that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would just, pick a schedule and stick with it.
Gotcha. So what are some mistakes that you see people make with email, or that you've gotten in your inbox and you've thought, oh, don't do this anymore? What are some of those like big red flags that should be avoided at all costs?
Well, I think the first one we've kind of already hit on is just not being consistent. A lot of people don't have a plan for their email. They just know that they should have a list. And so when they get people to sign up, they don't actually know what they'll be doing, or they go away for a bit or whatever. And so they don't have any real idea of nurturing those people. So I think it's super important that you have a plan, and again, that you stay consistent, because because eventually if you're not consistent and then you start popping up again, people are going to unsubscribe. And while that's not the end of the world, because you only want people who are super eager to get your stuff in your contacts list, at the same time, you want to build relationships with as many people as possible. So that consistency is key. I think the second thing is not being focused, or again, not having a plan. A lot of people kind of just go at it. They write whatever they're sort of feeling, and they don't really have any connection back to what they're selling or what they're about. So while it's great to have personal things and stories, and those are important, if you aren't also relating them back to your business and what you do, you're building a whole lot of friends, but you're not building customers. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
And then I think the third thing is you're not training your audience to take action. So a lot of people merely send, anecdotes or things in their emails, or they'll put the whole blog post in the email, right? But then you're not actually training them to take action. So whenever you do want them to take action, like schedule a discovery call or visit your sales page, they're not used to clicking in your emails. And so they don't click because they're not used to it, or it's foreign. And so you need to be consistent about doing that. And that doesn't mean that you have to create all of that. You could be a curator too. So don't be afraid to also just curate and train people to engage with your emails in that way, so that when it comes time to sell, that click-through is not a big thing. It's something that they do all the time.
Gotcha. I can definitely see that, all the things that you just said about how I've seen other people do those things before and have those same thoughts of like, what, I'm going to unsubscribe to this. I don't want to see this anymore. But that helps to kind of unpack the thought process behind it a little bit more. For sure. So, as far as some platforms to use, I think that when I first started, I had no experience with websites or any of these companies or anything like that. So what are just some of the few, I guess, platforms that people use, and the differences, or someone who's just starting out, what would be a good platform, and that's kind of simple to use, I guess, because some of these can get big and kind of confusing and very expensive after a while.
I think a lot of people, when they start out, they go with MailChimp.
Okay.
It's kind of limited in its capability and the way that it connects people. So it really just depends on what you're doing with it. I prefer, my favorite platform is ActiveCampaign. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty simple once you get those basics down. And then I think a lot of other people use ConvertKit. They really love that. They find it easy and visual and not too complicated, even for a new person. And so those would probably be ActiveCampaign and ConvertKit are probably some of my top two. I really like Drip as well. It works a lot like those. And so while they can be complicated, it can also be everything is going to have a learning curve, right? Yeah. And so it's just a matter of, I would rather you pick something that you can even grow into, because you don't want to end up changing. Over my 4 years, I've been through 4 or 5 email providers.
Wow.
Just for various things, or the features that I wanted or the things that I wanted to do, or as my business has evolved and the things that I needed from them. And so it'd be much better to set yourself up with one if you intend to grow it, which you should, and if you intend to use it, start off with something smart that can grow with your business or that your business can grow into.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just limit to yourself to your current capability, because you're capable of learning a lot of things.
Gotcha. That's good to know. So you only need one of those. You don't need multiple. I think for some reason, I thought when I first started, you needed like one, like you need like 2 or 3 somehow. I don't know what I was thinking. I was totally lost. So I ended up signing up for like 3 of them for like a trial period. And then they all like, I don't know. I was going to make a decision on it and then I forgot about it. So only need to sign up for one. Only one. Okay. So so someone has all of that set up and they're starting to get their plan together for what they want to send out. And so when you're putting a newsletter together, does it need to be like really fancy and like super branded, or does it need to just be the content, or like how long should it be? What's kind of the I guess the ideal for a newsletter? Because I've seen all kinds out there. I've seen some with no pictures, some with lots of pictures, and I never know what a small business should be focusing on for that.
You're probably going to get tired of me saying this, but it depends, right? Like,
okay.
And that's always the answer, is it depends on your audience, your business, and all of the other things. So I think, if you're selling physical products or pretty things, right? If your business depends on a visual, you're probably going to need something a little bit more visual. However, sometimes emails with a lot of images go to junk mail or promotions folders or things like that more often. Mm-hmm. So it may affect the deliverability depending on your email provider as well. So, and then different audiences expect and enjoy different things. So again, test it. It's kind of, it feels like a cop-out answer, but the truth is, like, that's the only way that you know. And then your style, right? What you like. My emails vary in length. Some of them look prettier than other ones. It's just one of those things that happens. And the more you do it, the more you find your style and what works for you. So just the more you interact with your email, the more you'll figure it out. So don't let that stop you. Just kind of get going and test to see what your audience likes, and then keep doing what works.
Gotcha. I think for sure a lot of this depends on business size and audience and everything. So whenever you're testing it out, do you I guess when you test it out, what I'm thinking is that you would send it one way for a little while, and then if you're not getting like open rates, is that a good sign that it's not doing well, or is there another sign that this isn't working, or is it just people booking like strategy calls or things like that? Like, what would be a good sign that what you're doing is not going well and you should kind of change or pivot a little bit?
It's kind of all of those things. I think first, you want to look at the deliverability, like how many bounced back, how many went to spam, or if that's in there for you. Yeah. So that's part of it, is just knowing that, and that may affect, whether or not, right, that style of newsletter is working, because if it's not getting to their inbox, that's not a good thing. Yeah. And then everything sort of measures a different thing, right? So if your open rate is low, you need to work on either your deliverability and or your headline writing, your subject lines, because that's what gets people to click to open. And then, if they're opening but they're not clicking through or scheduling things, then you need to look at your overall strategy, or the type of content that you're creating, or even the calls to action that you're using, because sometimes they're kind of confused, or maybe you ask them to do too many things, or maybe they didn't even get to the call to action because they were bored with the first part. So there's a lot of different things, and you kind of just have to go through and use your best guesses, and then tweak one thing at a time to see what's working and what's not.
Yeah, that's a good idea, just for all those things to look at. It seems like there's a lot that goes into this. I knew there was a lot, but the more you talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much.
Well, I think the other thing is it seems really complicated, and it can be as complicated or as easy as you make it. But I think the very first thing is just to remember that your people signed up for this for a reason, and they really just want to connect with you. So just keep doing that. Do whatever is the lowest barrier to entry for yourself. Don't make it overcomplicated, and just keep trying things. It can be really easy to look at everything and go, I don't think it's going to be something that I'm going to be able to do, or you wait forever until you have it all figured out, but you won't have it figured out until you try it. Yeah. So don't be afraid to just try.
For sure. And so once we've tried things and it's working, how do we grow our list? I always have a question of is it best for on your website for the box to pop up when they log in, or is it best to not have that? Are there any kind of tips behind that, or is it kind of just try it out again, see what works?
Definitely try it out. But I think the basic things are everywhere that you're already showing up, whether that's your website, your blog, your Pinterest, your, social media, all those places, just make sure you're asking for people to sign up for your email list as you do that. On your personal social media or your, in your personal email, write people that or that may know people that would be interested in what you do, and tell them you have this thing that they can sign up for if they're interested. And just continue to put yourself out there. It's not really holds, events like webinars and challenges and all those things too. But I think at the simplistic thing, if you've got a following, if you've gotten clients, if you're even just starting, it's just a matter of asking consistently. And that's usually where people fall down.
Gotcha. So, but you have to have them sign up for an email. You can't say, I have these clients, I'm going to put them on my email list, or can you do that? Or are you supposed to have them sign up for it?
No, you need to have their permission. So if they give you the permission, that's fine, and you can sign them up, but definitely never sign someone up for your email list that didn't ask to be signed up.
Okay. Gotcha. Is that a legal thing, or is that just a common courtesy?
It's a legal thing.
Ooh, okay. Because I've been signed up for a list before that I've thought, I didn't really want to get that email, but okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens, and this has changed a little bit with the GDPR that happened for Europe, where you have to have a checkbox and stuff like that, or a double opt-in. Some people might have sneaked away with that whenever you sign up, say, for a giveaway, and then it turns out they're sharing the list with 7 different companies. That's just a terms and conditions thing. So just pay attention to what you're signing up for. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it really is about getting permission. That's what the inbox is about. It's about permission. Otherwise you become another spammer, and we don't want that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, I guess how can our listeners that are looking at building their lists and about diving more into this, because I know that we talked about a lot, but we just talked about a lot today. So how can the listeners learn more about this and more about your company and what you're doing? Where can we find you?
Sure. You can find me at my website, cobblestonecreativeco.com. And if you go there, you can actually sign up for my resources hub. And in there are actually a couple of resources on email marketing for you, so you can check that out. And then you can follow me on Instagram at cobblestonecreative.co, and then on Facebook, Cobblestone Creative Co.
Perfect. Well, Kate, thank you so much for being here today. I know that this has been a huge pain point for me in my business, so I feel like I've gotten some clarity on what I need to be working on and thinking about, and seeing if I want to take this on as another thing that to be consistent with. So thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.